First, I want to welcome Esther McVey, first one.
We're all here because as Conservatives and people who believe in freedom, it's because we want our freedoms back. And I have to say, having met with Sir Richard Dearlove the other week, who was former head of the MI6, and he said that he was shocked how we'd lost our freedoms. He said it was worse in the last 18 months than anything he had seen during the Cold War behind the Iron Curtain. We had so readily handed over our freedoms. And today we have to start that movement to get our freedoms back. I'd say the first thing is we've got to make sure that our children are in school, that our children are being educated, that our children are going to have exams, so we don't have a polarisation within the education system. So I think the first thing is getting our children back in schools. And I would always say the parents have the final decision over what happens to their children. And I'm talking children 12 to 15, and it should not be the state imposing what happens to those children.
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Benjamin Disraeli recognised the absolute value and the equal value of every individual in this society, and that the job of government was to improve the condition of the people who you could trust to want to improve their own lives. And if we go back to that fundamental conservatism, you can be reassured that the party that you support is here for you, and we will legislate, we will do things that you want, and the Online Harms Bill will become a bill promoting freedom of speech in a what-not sphere, rather than being something that limits freedom of speech.
Mr. David Davis.
Can I just deal with the Online Harms Bill? I mean, I don't know how many people know much about it, but it does two things. It says to the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, you will not allow people to use your platform if they want to say something illegal. Fine. They also say you must not allow somebody to use your platform if they say something which is legal but harmful, right? And the penalty for getting this wrong is 10% of your revenue. Yep. Now, I don't know how many of you have followed the extent to which the big platforms have suppressed freedom of speech in the COVID debate already, without any incentive to do it. I do not want Mark Zuckerberg to make decisions about my freedom of speech. I don't want Facebook or Google or Twitter or anybody else to make those decisions.
Claire Fox.
When we were campaigning for Brexit and subsequent to voting for Brexit, one of the main attacks that was used, you will remember, from particularly Labour and Lib Dems, but actually the Remainers in the Conservative Party, was that the reason why people voted to leave was because they were misinformed and they didn't understand the arguments. They were manipulated by Russian bots. They saw a side of a bus. They were completely stupid, you know. And our response, right, was to say, you don't trust voters in this country. Now, the online safety bill, the assumption is that millions of people are kind of thick, stupid knuckle draggers. I know that the Labour Party aren't going to oppose it, but why is the government pushing it? They don't trust ordinary people to rear their children, feed themselves, or actually look online without kind of becoming a bigot and going mad.
Ben Bradley, the man.
We've embedded this interventionism, this large government, tax-raising, finger poking into people's businesses kind of scenario over the last 18 months. And it's more important than ever over the next 18 months that we remake the case for freedom and liberty, because we could continue to just drift in this direction where emergency powers roll on for a little bit longer than we need to. We can't be in a place as a party and as a government where we are further embedding this interventionist state.
Mr. Lee Anderson.
We talk about a nanny state, and we have been in a nanny state for 2 years, 18 months now. And like I say, that's our fault. But you know what? There is a bigger nanny state out there, and we're free of that, and that's the European Union. And thank goodness. In my area, which is a typical red wall seat, the typical Labour voters, like my mum and dad and my grandma and granddad, they are very socially conservative. They was brought up with strict conservative values. You go to work, you work hard, you make sure your kids get a good education. And if your kids, we didn't have nannies, I'm sorry, Jacob, we didn't have nannies. If your kids do a little bit better than you, then that's progress. And that's all we want in the Red Wall areas.
Mr. Philip Davis.
How on earth can any self-respecting Conservative agree with the premise that we should be banning special offers in supermarkets of products that the Department of Health consider to be unhealthy? We're here as blue-collar Conservatives trying to stick up for working families, people who are struggling. We've got an issue with the cost of living. And what is the government doing? Banning buy one, get one free offers, telling people you don't know what to buy, you're not capable of making the decision as to what products to buy in the supermarket, and we know what's best for you. And what's best for you is we're going to put the prices up for you of those products that you want to buy because we don't think they're good for you. And this is a Conservative government doing this. I'm absolutely apoplectic about it, and everyone here should be apoplectic about it as well. If we can't even trust people to decide what products to buy in the supermarket, what on earth are we going to trust them with? This is a freedom crisis that we've got within the heart of the government at the moment, and we've got to fight these things.